Hey everyone. On today's episode, we are talking about what everyone has in their pants. Wait, sorry, no, that sounded a little suggestive. Maybe it's in your purse, or it's in your backpack, or on the table right next to you. It's your smartphone. They're here and they're not going anywhere. And dang it, if we don't love using them, but they might be taking a toll on you that you're not even aware of.
We look at how they affect our mental health, how they can promote it, ways to engage with them, and ways to not if you need a break. And of course, we're aware of the irony that you're likely listening to this podcast on your smartphone. So don't disconnect completely, but maybe choose to do so a little more consciously. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Collect Your Thoughts. I'm Jason LeCompte, a licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Sean Millhouse, licensed professional counselor.
Hey Sean, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome back.
Thanks. I know it's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Are you back from your rehab? No, that's
I seriously thought you were going to say world travels.
I mean, yeah, that would have been the more kind.
That's what I call rehab. I call rehabs world travels.
Yeah. As I remember Kathy Griffin used to have a bit where she'd say, like, you're going to the dentist, like, if you had to get like reconstructive surgery or whatever, plastic surgery.
Or whatever. Yeah.
So anyway, like,
I remember that
the
from way
dentist?
back. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
No, I moved houses, obviously, but I've been off not recording with you for about the last month or so. So it's been really busy, but I'm finally moved in and finally feeling settled and ready to bring it back, actually.
Yeah, and this is our first
I'm
episode back from our
excited.
little September break.
It is. Yeah. This topic for me is super important, super relevant, and I think we should dig into it a little bit. Do you know what we're talking about? Smartphones, right?
I mean, that's at least what I saw in the notes and what I think you told me you wanted to talk about.
Great. Smartphones and their impact on our mental health. I don't know anybody in my entire life, including several 9-year-olds, that don't have a smartphone. How about you?
I mean, yeah, it blows my mind at the normalcy of children having smartphones.
It's weird. Like
It's very strange.
Middle schoolers. Yeah, my
or
10-year-old
pre-middle school, even, as you said.
Yeah, I've seen tablet use younger than that, but to walk around with their own phone, there's 10-year-old. My 10-year-old nephew has one, so it's kind of weird. They're definitely ubiquitous. When I was doing research for this, I was looking at like the dates, and in like 2000, I think 2007 was when the first iPhone came out, which is what a lot of like the smartphone era is sort of associated with, right? We had some like more complicated phones before that, but it was really the advent of apps and being able to use your phone for everything is kind of like when this whole era started. And I'm like, 2007 was not that long ago, and they are completely ubiquitous now.
Yeah.
They're just everywhere, used for everything. It's crazy.
It really is. Yeah. I remember seeing the iPhone commercials, and it was one of the last times I think where it felt like we were really like in the future to see a screen of all these things, basically a really fancy iPod at the time, because that's really what the newest iPods at that time had, for anybody who was too young for that, if you're listening, an iPod was a thing that played music, and they were just these little baby cute MP3 players, and then they evolved and turned into an actual phone that you could do everything with, and it felt like the holy grail.
It really did. Your iPod was now on your phone, but also so was your homework, and so was your it was your computer screen shrunk down to 5 inches and stuck in your back pocket. It was crazy. Yeah.
Very, very.
So obviously they're everywhere and we're using them for everything, but they're taking a toll. There's definitely information. There's definitely now a growing body of research that this is having a negative effect. Well, here, let's say this. It's having both effects. There's definitely a smartphone is a tool when you break it down. So it can help us. We can use it to access information. We can use it to access mental health services, counseling. Like a lot of those things are really popular right now, but also the amount of use that we have for all of these other things, including social media, is really deteriorating our mental health. So that's what I want to dig into today.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about uses of smartphones. So obviously communication, that's a big one, right? I am on my smartphone talking to friends and family several hours a day. I don't really want to admit that out loud, but but I think I probably am, right? Even if I'm scrolling through like social media or whatever, a lot of social medias have text or messaging pieces to them, chats. And so I'm talking to you. All right. I'm sending you memes and then I'm commenting on them, and then we're having a back and forth, and then right, somebody will text me and then I'll text, and I'm returning work emails, all the things. Yeah. But communication is definitely key, and they're super useful for that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the part that is super positive, is there are so many different avenues to reach people. And then on the other side of it is there are so many avenues to reach people.
That's funny. A little aside, I'm hearing more and more times when the same phrasing is being used to describe the opposite. There's got to be a word for this somewhere out there. Sure, like some of the etymologists want to figure that out. But yeah. But I actually, that tickles me in a way that I really enjoy is when we use the same phrase to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like tickle me Elmo. Did you ever, this goes into more uses of smartphones. Did you grow up with encyclopedias in your house?
We were not fancy enough to have encyclopedias.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. No, that was like really like if you owned your own encyclopedias, that was like bougie shit. You used it at school, or we would go to our public library, and that's where we could go on a computer before we had a computer to write things, when teachers started asking you to do things on computer, because that was starting to be normalized at that time.
Right. Yeah. I know I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm if I had to guess, my parents probably got suckered into like a door-to-door salesman in buying this set of, and so we were certainly not bougie growing up at all, but we did have a set of, it wasn't Webster's, that's the dictionary. Franklin,
Oxford?
Maybe? Okay. No, it wasn't Oxford. It might, maybe, I can't remember the brand. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but we had a set of encyclopedias, which this day and age, like if you were to do that, like a year from now, they'd be outdated. It's ridiculous. How fast,
exactly.
Yeah. But back then you could have that set, and for 10 years you could just, you could look stuff up, or you could learn stuff. Or I was the kind of nerd that would just, in my downtime, I would just pull one off the shelf and just start looking through it, and I would just learn about random crap. And then everyone asks me now why I'm so good at bar trivia, and I'm like, I think it was it was my reading of encyclopedias as a kid. But information, like that's what that amounted to, right? If it wasn't in the encyclopedia and nobody around us knew the answer, as kids, we would just wonder.
Yeah, or if you had parents that were really wanting to take the next step, or teachers, then you could use the library for their resources. But that was definitely not something as a little kid that you usually would, let's go look at the microfiche and all of the stuff, that the old newspaper clippings that they had in their what's it called? Not reserves.
Yeah, the archives.
Thank you.
Yeah, the archives. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so absolutely what you're saying is correct. It just, you knew it or you didn't.
Yeah. And just mean like in the moment too, right? If you didn't have access to it in the moment, you just didn't think about it anymore, or you just wondered for a little while and then we don't do that anymore. We have information in our pockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
The entire,
I was going to say there are still those times where I'm sitting in a room full of people, and it's our generation, or people who are, I'd say 35 and up, will still be sitting in a room, and somebody will be like, I wonder what that's like or what that's about. And I'll go, y'all, we all have phones. Why we could just Google it, as if we still forget that we can do that
sometimes
at times. But I wonder if that's even something that younger folks, even if that's something that they do they pause, or they're just like, whoop, and pull up their phone?
Yeah, I'm sure it's habit dependent, right? Or changes from person to person, but I think it's pretty human to just wonder, right? To think about something and go, I don't know. I mean, I've said the phrase, I wonder all the time, but anyway, we digress. information. We use smartphones for information. We look stuff up all the time, right? What else? What else do you use your smartphone for?
Oh, goodness. I mean, for sure, communication, like you said, to look up things, to I organize my life,
Mm.
run my private practice,
Yeah, productivity,
productivity,
business management. Sure.
yeah, yeah, habit tracking, and of course, social media.
Yeah, and I know we can parse them out if you want, but like social media and entertainment, I feel like it's pretty similar, right? I might watch a show or reels or what
See, I
stuff,
guess
but
I look at them separately because I like, for example, when I was like, "Oh yeah, music, duh!" Like that is where my library is. Instead of
mm,
having hundreds and hundreds of CDs, now I
yeah,
just have this app that has every freaking song essentially that I've ever wanted to listen to,
right.
and I can do it at any moment. And so I feel like because that is a separate thing than because it's artists making things for people versus people posting random shit on a social media platform that may or may not be from actual artists and things like that. So there feels like
Got it.
there's something less, I guess, pristine or professional about it. For
Sure,
me, at
sure.
least.
No. That's that tracks. Given that, what I know about you, that you would be much more discerning about your entertainment tastes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but absolutely. So entertainment, music, movies, TV, we can watch all those things on our phones. And then social media, we can use those for distraction or keeping up on things or promoting ourselves or sure, entertainment. Reels can be
Right.
entertaining too, right? But yeah. So we use them for lots and lots of different things. And what I think I alluded to earlier was they are kind of a double-edged sword, right? They can promote things in our mental health around wellness, like you said, habit tracking, things like that. It can support well-being. They can be access to resources. If you live out 50 miles from the nearest therapist and you can't travel back and forth, you can potentially see them right there on your phone. You can do a Zoom
Which
call,
is a
or
very new development.
it is, and it's incredible. We saw that really boom during the COVID, those few years in COVID, where nobody had access to anything. Right, we were all locked down, and I know personally, like I took a week or two off, I think, in terms of seeing my regular caseload of clients. But then during that week or two, I switched everything to video, and then we started doing telehealth, and that made access that much more.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it really was. It was a lot of people to kind of keep up on stuff.
Hmm.
It allowed me to also feel supported as a therapist. So
Yeah.
that was huge in terms of that. But then I can also, as we've been talking about, I can undermine mental health as well. Can create anxiety, can lead to or add to sleep disruption, and just a couple other things that we'll kind of dig into a little bit.
Hmm.
But definitely as therapists, we see both sides of that, right? The question I have to you is, and maybe if this is not too revealing, what's your relationship with your smartphone like?
Oh boy. It is a very I was reflecting on this as I
Mhm.
was reflecting over sort of our outline for today. And what I really think it comes down to, which is probably true for most things, is when I respect its time and it respects mine, we do just fine. But once we cross over into a certain over a certain threshold,
Uh-huh.
that's when it becomes toxic, dependency creating, and avoiding of a lot of things that would be a better use of my time and energy.
You talked about it like it was alive, sentient.
I mean, it is such a part of my life. If my phone disappeared, I don't know what I would do with myself. If I couldn't get a hold or if I didn't have any access to anything, I don't
Right.
have a home phone like we did
Right.
back in the day.
Not many people do.
I
Yeah.
I would just show up to people's houses. What is this,
Like
the
we used to do,
1950s?
right? 80s, dude. We did that in the 80s. We would just literally
I
walk over
know,
to
I
somebody's
was
house and
just
knock on the
being
door.
really facetious,
I
but
know. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, like it just there are parts of it that are really so awesome, and
Yeah.
convenient. I love convenience. However, convenience can also be a problematic factor if you don't remember why it's important to not have everything right at your fingertips.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I feel like my relationship with my smartphone is managed, or it's an ongoing management project. Let's say that there are times when I get sucked in, and I know I'm spending more time than I should on it, and then there are times when I see it purely as a tool, and I've managed all my notifications, and I'm only getting relevant things coming in, and then I'm using it like in the way that I think it could be or should be used. And that
Yeah.
I can feel the difference in my mental health, in my focus, in my energy, in even in my mood, which we're going to get into a little bit more too. But that makes a huge difference when it's balanced. And so when it feels out of balance, I know I have a very short window to kind of get it back on track before it starts to undermine my functioning.
For sure.
I want to talk a little bit more specifically about some of these things we are mentioning about how it affects us.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways I kind of looked into a little bit was self-regulation. And it was kind of exactly what I was talking about. Smartphones can test our capacity for self-control, right? When I don't manage my notifications, every time I get a little ping or a little buzz, it's that little tiny micro temptation that's like pulling me, and it's pulling me away from, right? Or it's giving me a choice. Do I stay focused on what I'm working on, or do I shift my attention? I know you've experienced this.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time, right? All the time. Even just this morning, right? I'm looking through emails and I'm returning a couple here and there, and then to my right. And I'm like, hang on, right? And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, no. So I have to silence it and put it right so I can continue, or I don't, right? If it's somebody that I'm expecting, I want to talk to, I'll take a break and I'll move. But it really does test that, right? And when people are using their phones or connected to their phones more often, they'll start to use words like, I'm hooked, I'm addicted, I'm out of control, I'm using it too much. And this is a very similar mechanism to what we see with addiction, substance use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's overuse. It's stuff it can go just like we would overuse stuff like food or sex or substances or gambling. It feels very similar. I can't control my impulse. It's problematic, obviously, right? For lots of ways. Yeah. There's one guy that I ran into, Baumeister, another sort of psychological researcher. He looked into.
Did it hurt me right into him, or?
But it was a love at first sight. That's what it was.
Are you Jason Baumeister now?
Yes, exactly.
That's actually where you were. You were on Exotic Wedding.
Don't tell my husband. But he studied self-control, and it was actually learning about how it is a limited resource. That the more that we employ self-control, the less that we have in other areas or for other needs or pulls in our life. And so that's when it can really become degrading and cause those other areas or those other problems, right? Other areas in our life, make us more vulnerable to stress, poor decision making, things like that. Do you see this with clients too? Did they describe things like this? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a whole new layer of stress management that it's just about smartphones and technology that weren't there 15 years ago when we didn't have the same kinds of things pulling at us on our phones.
When you say stress management, you mean like specifically working with your clients on managing their stress around their phone?
Yeah, it's another component of why they're feeling so stressed out because of the perceived demands, or I mean, I think this probably will come up, the big C comparison of life with other people's lives, and not knowing how to turn off. Especially, I know we work with a lot of people who are they are trained to be on their phones whenever they get a notification because it's a work slash culture
Mm.
thing for them. And so that then also, I think, creates if I'm going to be a good professional, then I need to make sure I'm on top of every email and I need to
Yeah.
respond and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, people don't turn off. I hear all the time where, oh, well, I went on vacation, but I did spend a day where I was just like messing around with work stuff. But I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm like, "But you're on vacation. Get off your phone. Like,
Yeah.
stop." And
Yeah.
people, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, but you don't understand. It's the walking away from it and letting it be where it was
Mhm.
physically
Mhm.
is such an important piece of disconnecting so you can really be in a different place in your life and in your mind. But some people
Yeah.
really struggle with feeling like they have the right or the ability to do it without it being something punitive for them.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Kind of an aside, but definitely relevant. Another something that I saw actually a while back before we were even planning this episode, it was about how our behavior changes. Like you just said it, when our phones are in the room, even when they're in the
Ugh.
room versus in another room, our behavior changes. Our attention is still split. Our expectations are still drawn towards the phone because it's going
Yep.
to go off. Or even if it's silenced, I have to check it. I have to pick it up and look to see if I've missed something, right?
Yeah.
Versus if it's in another room, we are actually disconnected. And I have
Yeah.
clients who talk about this in terms of like taking vacation. Some clients are great about it. That they'll take their phone or their computer with them, but they'll lock it in the safe and then they'll go out and do their whole day and they're actually out of office. And then there's some people who sit poolside and continue to answer emails or text
Yep.
messages or whatever, right? And it's a different experience. So yeah, I hear it both ways. It's really interesting. I was going to get to comparison, but let's talk about it since we're already in it. There was another researcher I looked into, Leon Festinger, talking about or theorizing that how people evaluate themselves in relation to others. So our brains are essentially comparison engines, right? Not this, but that. We're kind of looking for patterns, looking for our best way forward, our easiest, most resource friendly way forward. And so we're constantly comparing things. But then when we step into the social media world, it gets kind of on steroids, right? It gets turbocharged.
Yes.
The comparison piece. Do you
Mhm.
yourself have any experience? I'm kidding. Totally not going to ask you.
I
I mean,
mean,
we all do, right? We all do.
course.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that sort of constant exposure to those curated pictures, highlights, reels, it fosters what he calls upward comparisons, right? Everyone is happier, fitter, more beautiful, more successful than me.
Yep.
And it's not a conscious thought. It's a subconscious comparison that our brains just do. And it drags down our self-worth and contributes to things like anxiety and depression and body image issues. All these sorts of things are inherent in that constant comparison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Another category where I feel like this is really relevant is something called attention economy. And so this is where, and this is a little nefarious, right? A little to talk about, but tech companies profit from capturing and holding our attention. And there's not really a whole lot of thought that goes into the experience of the user, right? It's sort of put on us to moderate if it's affecting us. But this isn't just an unfortunate side effect. It's actually structural design. So this is where the term algorithm has become way more ubiquitous. It used to be just in like high school trig classes or something, right? Where you would hear the word algorithm or in computer coding or something along those lines, right? But this is now, these are the algorithms that now are predictive and show us all the things that we want to see to keep us on the app longer and longer and longer, to show us more ads, to drive more revenue, and then if I'm continuing to compare myself over and over, right? Yes. You understand where we're going. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you content based off of something you either looked into or happened to come across. Maybe you engage with the comments, and then it just continues to, here's another hit of that, and here's another hit, and here's something else you might have missed. And it feeds you this experience that makes you want to keep diving in more. Is if you're going to find out something by continuing to go down that rabbit hole, when a lot of times you're really spinning your wheels.
Wait, am I not going to find out?
You might, but
So you're saying I
no
should
one
just be
else
on my
is.
phone more? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not.
So yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, I have an example. I was talking to my husband the other day about new towels for our bathrooms,
Mhm.
and lo and behold, every third ad in my reels is for towels in my house.
That's creepy.
It's awful. Or I'll even look something up on a completely different app, but that information is in there, and the end user agreement, I've clicked agree, and it's allowed to now mine my information, and it's now going to show me more and more things related to whatever I'm looking up. So
Yep.
that can definitely be problematic. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if someone sends you something, I will tell you this. I've
Mm-hmm.
had people send me something and I'm like, I don't care about this. But now
This,
my
yeah.
algorithm is
Yep.
flooded with that. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I made a joke to a friend the other day where she was sending me like cute little animal videos, and I'm like, my algorithm is all hot guys and amazing singers right now. Like, you're messing up my algorithm by sending me cute animals. So the next 5 things she sent me was hot guys, and I was like, oh, thanks, that was really sweet.
I'm sure it was very difficult for your algorithm to get back on track.
Very, very difficult. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is there's the Center for Humane Tech, this guy who works there, Tristan Harris, he calls this algorithm structuring or curating the race to the bottom of the brainstem. This quote really stuck out to me. It really like hurts to think about it, to talk about it, but what it talks about is it links these concepts to things like variable reward schedules. It's the same principle that makes slot machines addictive. You're going to get the exact right thing just enough times to keep you hooked. And then all the rest of the times you're going to be shown stuff that they want to sell you or they want to show you.
Yeah.
But you don't really care about that because there's just enough hot guys. There's just enough amazing singers, just enough towel ads to keep me looking, keep me searching for more while I try and ignore all the rest of it, not compare it all. So the last piece of this, or another piece, maybe our final piece that we're talking about in terms of the psychological relevance of this, is the dopamine. And we've talked about this in many different ways, but the dopamine reward pathways. So smartphones will activate the dopamine system, the same system that we've been talking about that is involved in addictions. So every ping, every like, every notification is that tiny little microburst of dopamine. And over time, it reinforces the behavior of compulsive checking, which is the thing that feels like overuse or hooked or out of control. So studies are showing that even in anticipation of a notification can increase dopamine firing. Have you ever caught yourself in that
Oh yeah, for
weird
sure.
limbo?
Yeah, I mean, I know there'll be times even we'll send each other stuff back and forth on Instagram, and we'll be sort of on a roll, and then there might be maybe a brief lull, and I'm like, is he gonna send something else? I'm gonna see, or is he gonna respond to this thing that I sent? Like, cause is he still on here? And so then that makes me like, okay, I'm waiting for this. And then you're kind of like, what am I doing? Like, just go live your life. And then you can see these responses potentially or updates later.
Yeah.
It is a very, it feels compulsive to check again, you know?
Right. Yeah. I had this very experience last night I was watching something that I was really, I told you about it, Jeff Buckley documentary, and I was super into it and like loving it. And then I started to get a text, and then I was like, oh, okay. But then I was watching and I could tell I wasn't really as concentrated, as focused on it as I wanted to be, because I was checking to see if they were going to respond again, so I finally just flipped it over and pushed it away. And I was like, no, like I've been waiting to watch this thing. I set aside time for this. I want to watch it. So I had to really ignore it, but it was a struggle. Definitely.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah. This pull that we all sort of feel when we use smartphones. Obviously, we're seeing it in our work with our clients, and they're talking about anxiety and depression and addictive behaviors and overuse and all the things. What are some ways that you talk with your clients? Like, how do you work with them? How do you help them build different habits, better habits around when the pull of and the ubiquity of smartphones is so strong? What are some ways that
I
you work with it?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually something I saw that you had put in your notes that
Mm,
someone is recommending that I happen to just I apparently do organically,
mm,
which is anytime I see a client who is just in that mental rabbit hole of I hate my phone, but I can't stop checking it,
mm,
and I'm on all the apps and TikTok and Instagram and all the things over and over again. I will always say, if you really want to feel better, take a 2 week detox from
mm,
any apps that you do not need. I would say outside of email and texting,
mm.
do not anything that's social media related, do not check it for 2 weeks because you will feel better. You will also, though, before you feel better, go through a sort of tech withdrawal.
Uh-huh.
You're going to want to check. You will literally find your finger going towards that app without even trying, and you have to stop yourself.
Uh-huh.
The important thing, though, is that I think it's important to miss things sometimes. If you're constantly in it, if you're constantly checking it, you don't really get an opportunity to maybe miss it. And then, ironically enough, usually after 2 weeks, people go, I kind of don't want to check it again because they feel a sense of peace being
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I'm unplugged from the bullshit. And I
Yeah.
do feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And so I say, if you wanna keep going, keep going. I definitely recommend it. But if you do 2 weeks without jumping on a social media platform,
Mm.
I'm telling you, you will absolutely feel, I would say, minimum 20% better.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I've definitely heard of people do. I think didn't we had a couple of colleagues. Didn't we have Elise and Asher do this at some point? Didn't they
They've
take
done
a
I do it. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
one time did 3 months.
I've taken breaks as well. Yeah. But it
Yeah.
it really does make a significant difference. The way that I hear you, like when we've consulted on cases and difficult, clients situations, there's something that you use that really resonates with me every time you say it. And I don't know if it's these words exactly, but like, does your relationship to this or your use of this, like, is this what you want your life to look like? I feel like you've said that many times to me, which,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great sort of mirror to hold up, right? A great sort of reflection on like am I aligned with my values? Am I living the way that I want to be living my life? Does this align with how you want your life to look?
Yeah, because I mean, do you want people to go, "Yeah, he always had his phone, in his hands, and he was
Mm.
always looking at it. When he was at dinner, he couldn't be without it. He kept checking it while all of us were at the table engaging with each other. Or when
Mhm.
we were watching that movie, he was checking his phone." Like, do you really want that to be who you are? Is that a legacy that makes you feel pride? And if
Mhm.
so, all right, I guess that's you. But most people, I think, want to be known for more than just the use of this thing that can take all of our time if we give it that permission.
Yeah. My sister-in-law does a really good job of this for herself and also for I've seen her do it with my brother, just asking him to get off of his phone or stop checking his phone, like if we're all out to dinner, something along those lines. And I'm always sort of taken aback because it's direct and kind of out of nowhere. I didn't even notice he was on his phone, but she noticed
Yeah.
that he wasn't involved in the group. And so I always
Mhm.
appreciate that. Like that's really important to her and she speaks up. I just think is great.
Yeah, I think we should all be able to have that kind of relationship with at least our loved ones or close people in our lives to be able to be like, "Hey, I don't feel like you're here right now."
Right.
And why am I spending time with you if you're not fully here with me?
Right. Yeah. There's been a rise too. I'm sure you've seen them in, not only, I guess if we're calling them smart, well, we can call the other ones dumb, but
Oh,
dumb phone advertisements, dumb phone, like availability. Like I see
and the
more and
adoption
more,
of it.
and right. But more and more, I feel like more and more people are using, I've looked into it myself in terms of like with my phone carrier, like, can I go on vacation and just have a phone for phone calls and text messages? Like, that's really all I want to have available to me. Right. If I'm navigating a city,
Mhm.
a new city, and I need like a Google Maps or something, like, okay, maybe I could bring an iPad in my backpack, or maybe only one of us, my husband and I, will have a smartphone. The rest of the time, can we just be off of them? Can we just be, turn them off and stick them in our luggage or whatever, which is
Yeah,
more challenging. But even stuff like not just dumb phones, but something called, is it Brick? Have you seen this?
probably.
It's like a little, it's a sensor that's connected to an app, is the way that I understand it. And essentially that brick is like, it's stuck on your wall or your fridge or your whatever. It's just kind of like, and you go
Oh.
tap your phone to it and it bricks your smartphone. It turns it into a dumb phone for a certain amount of time. And you can set it up to where it is impossible to override.
Wow,
This is what I've heard. So it will literally brick, well,
that's great.
functionally, yeah, brick your phone. But even Apple introduced screen time a while back so that we could keep track. Have you ever used screen
Yeah.
time yourself? Yeah,
Oh, I have apps that are set with screen time for
you do.
sure.
You do.
Oh, yeah. Now, do I often
Obey
say,
them.
"Oh, okay, I'm out of time. Whoops. All right, back in." Yeah, but it does serve as a reminder when I get that, "Hey, you have 5 minutes left," or "You are out
Uh-huh.
of time for today." I'm
Uh-huh.
like, "All right. Well, if I'm choosing to go forward, then I'm going against what I set for myself as what I believe to be a logical amount of time to
Right.
spend on a given app."
Yeah. I've used it to varying degrees of success, the screen time, just because
Mhm.
I'll set a limit for myself. But after I do that, then it doesn't feel like it's me that's dictating the amount of time. It feels like it's something else that's giving. This is just how my brain works. So, and now I'm getting the limit, right? I'm getting the notification, I'm getting the message on the screen, and I'm like, no, phone, stop telling me what to do. I'm going to do whatever. And then I like have
Some
to realize
oppositional
that it's
defiance, I
a little
hear.
bit, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told by, it's just, yeah, doesn't
I
matter.
love it. I don't wanna be
Yeah.
told what to do by me who said that
That's
command.
what I mean, right? Yeah. Once I've said it, then I forget that it's me that said it. And
Uh-huh.
so it feels like it's something. And so, yeah, so like I said,
Yeah.
varying degrees of success. But what I do like about it is it does create awareness around, oh, I've already been in this app for 15 minutes. Oh, maybe I should
Mhm.
get up and do something else. Right. So I try not to
Yeah.
like shame myself for it, but I do like that it's helping like create that awareness, that consciousness that around the use, so that I'm not, potentially overusing it. That's another kind of way that I talk about it too with clients, right? Like when there's overuse, over involvement with it, and what seems like addictive behaviors, they're not all good and they're not all bad. They can be
Yeah.
problematic, but they can also be super useful, like we said at the top.
It's in honestly
So
the power of the holder, right?
it truly is. But the trap is when you notice a behavior that you don't like and you find it difficult to change, we can start to
Mhm.
demonize ourselves. We can start to feel shame about it, right? So
Sure.
with clients, and I mean honestly with myself, it's a good reminder too. I'm I'm empowered, like you said, it's the power of the user. So I want them to feel like if they're not living their best life, if they're not making the choices they want to make, they are empowered to use these things, to
Mhm.
shut them off, to delete them, to whatever it might be. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fine line too, with that shame kind of versus empowerment thing.
When it becomes a crutch instead of a tool, I think that that's a really important differentiation to make. When you find yourself having this, "Oh, I wanna see this, I wanna look at that, da, 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 da," instead of living your life, you're watching other people live their lives in a
Yeah.
way. It's essentially
Hmm.
what social media has become,
Hmm.
and that depresses you eventually because then you do naturally then start going, "Oh, I wish I had that body. I wish I looked that pretty. I wish I traveled to that place, had that
Mhm.
house, dot, 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 dot. And it makes you go from a mindset of loving what you have and appreciating it to never having enough. And
Right. Right.
that's, I mean, we're already such a consumeristic society.
Yep.
We need to do everything we can to break out of these chains of, I need this to equate to what I think is happiness.
Right. Yeah, it really does reinforce the scarcity mindset.
Hmm.
I don't have enough. I don't have that, so I don't have enough. And
Yeah.
there's tons now, tons and tons of research. And again, it wouldn't be an episode of Collect Your Thoughts without mentioning Brene Brown. She will say,
Uh,
right. She will say that developing gratitude for what we do have is fundamental to feeling well.
yeah.
That it's that it can actually be as effective. A gratitude practice, a regular gratitude practice, can be, and this is not Brene, this is research, but can be as effective as an antidepressant in lessening depression.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That emphasis is practice,
like
because what
practice,
happens
right?
is
Yeah,
I did it like a couple
4 times.
days and like
Yeah,
I didn't notice
yeah,
anything different. And it's like, okay, yeah, 2 days is rarely going to make you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just like surging with gratitude. I mean, come on.
yeah,
That's also, I mean, but let's also call what it is. That is also part of what social media has done to us, is that our ability, our attention spans, our willingness to wait for results is so
mm,
skewed
mm,
because of the instantaneous sensation that we often feel from our smartphones and apps.
yeah, yeah. There was a book I read in grad school called The Shallows. Nicholas, I'm gonna butcher his name, but I'll if anybody wants it, I'll let you know. But he was talking specifically about the advent of high speed internet. This goes back a
Ah,
little bit, right? But how when he could just keep clicking and keep going to the next thing, he recognized that his attention span was deteriorating, and he could no longer sit and read. And I had
mhm.
that exact same experience. It was several years from between my undergrad to my graduate school. And during that time, I lived on my own. And for the first time in my life, had a high speed internet. And so when I went back to graduate school, I grew up a reader. I've read thousands of books. Like as a kid, I would literally couldn't read more than 5 or 6 sentences before my mind was wandering. This is where I think, not to jump the track too much, but the the overuse of the term or overdiagnosis of ADHD. We're not all, I know you guys talked about this a little bit in
Oh,
the
yeah.
ADHD episode, but we're not all, we don't all have ADHD or ADD.
I mean,
But
we're
we're,
definitely, we're
but,
all shrinking in attention spans, but yes,
right.
actual full on ADHD criteria met, no.
Where it's a clinical diagnosis, right? Where it's a developmental delay, which is what it was originally identified as. This is truly just our brain, our attention span being deteriorated by our ability to continue flipping, continue clicking.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, Unfortunate, but also like we're talking about, manageable. We have the power to make these changes.
We do. If we
Yeah.
remember we have the power and that it's worth it.
Mhm. Yeah. It is.
Discomfort
Yeah, it
won't
absolutely
kill
is.
you. Discomfort is sometimes the
Mhm.
price of strengthening
Mhm.
your resolve to overcome a difficult situation.
Say that again.
I'll try. I hate when people ask me that. I have short-term memory.
I just want to listen
Um,
to it again.
essentially, like, yeah, essentially having
Being uncomfortable.
discomfort
Yeah.
allows you to build resolve in order to overcome a difficult situation.
Right.
It gives you the strength to hold back or to sit in that discomfort and to tell yourself, I know this is temporary, or I know I'm going to get through this, even if
Yeah.
it sucks or it hurts or it's not comfortable right now. And we have a lot of people who are really afraid to allow themselves to feel discomfort. And social media is a huge
Mhm.
distraction from what they think is discomfort, when in fact, I think if anything, it's burrowing underground in our psyche more discomfort. But we don't want to say that. We don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But it really is, at least in my clinical opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. We are wired down to our basics, our caveman basics is we're wired to conserve energy. We didn't always have access to as much resource as we used to. So
Right.
we're used to finding the easiest way through. And so that's a lot of what the modern world, especially where technology is coming from, is we're trying to create more and more and more convenience, more and more and more comfort or entertainment or whatever it might be. And so you're right. Our tolerance for discomfort is dropping, and we don't necessarily want to address that. But it is very much like exercising, right? Like strength building. That's the same parallel. You use that comparison all the time.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned it to me several times.
I mean, yeah, any practice that is not a natural practice for us is going to feel sort of like, I don't know, walking with roller skates on all the time. It's going to be like, what am I doing?
I love that comparison.
I don't, it just came to me,
That's
but
good. Yeah.
yeah, of course, that's going to feel really awkward. But if you did it every single day, I bet you'd become a badass roller skater.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Not
like
that. I mean, hey, go you
Yeah.
if you want to do that. I don't. But
Yeah, no, I don't need to. Actually, that might be kind of fun to. No, never mind. We're not going to do that.
all right, hey,
Right.
Jason's clients, you might see him roller skating down the
Might be.
office.
It might be a few inches taller and have wheels on my feet.
Yeah, and then he's gonna go down to his shift at Sonic and get you a shake.
Or just follow you down the hallway on my roller skates and then fall on my ass.
That too. That
That would
too.
happen too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's maybe summarize this a little bit and talk about some takeaways and maybe some tools that our listeners can have in their back pockets. One thing we've been talking about, sort of alluding to, is better boundaries. There's a couple ways that people talk about this. One of them is something called a digital sunset. Have you ever heard that term before?
I have.
Yeah, it was kind of new to me when I was kind of putting this all together, but I like the idea. I mean, it's a very sort of pretty term to call it a digital sunset, but the idea is that there's no smartphone use a certain amount of time before bed, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to help you feel less connected to it, less stimulated by it, right? And I'm guilty of this too. This is not a habit that I have yet, but scrolling until my eyes start to get tired, and then maybe scrolling for another 20 or 30 more minutes, and then I put my phone down, and then 20 minutes later I fall into a sometimes fitful sleep because I haven't really prepared myself for sleep. So obviously need to follow my own advice. Arianna Huffington,
I've always been a huge proponent of that because I'm a big person on sleep hygiene, and
that's the term I was just going to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And so I was just going to say, I absolutely tell people all the time, depending on your bedtime, that can vary, but absolutely minimum an hour. And then one of the best things you can do to fall asleep, like go read a book or sit in a room with low lighting and not have anything else on. Like, it's so important to give our minds space from all the shiny moving objects that are just inches away from our face. And that absolutely, to me, is partly granted through a digital sunset.
I used to fall asleep reading books as a kid all the time. That was just sort of the norm for me.
Yeah. And it's a great way to calm your mind. Now, I will say, depending on where you're at in the book or the kind of book, it can sometimes hype you up more. And that is a very fine line you have to find. But if you have some safe books that are like that, or for me, it's putting on something that, like, I love my fan that blasts cool air on me, but also I love the sound that my fan makes. And so I just sort of drone out to that, and then I'm out. So I think it's important. We need to substitute things if we have a consumption issue with digital media or turning off. And so, yeah, don't feel like you have to necessarily white knuckle it. It is something that there are other ways to get around that.
Yeah, for sure. I found another study that talks specifically about what you just talked about, was replacing that. So replacing checking your phone or replacing using your phone. This doesn't necessarily apply to right before bed. I know we were just talking about sleep hygiene, but they were showing that exercise And I talk to my clients all the time about movement and exercise. And I don't really care what you call exercise, but moving your body, right? So where you're elevating your heart rate, that's exercise. But specifically group centered activities, they improved mental health outcomes in regards to the decline that people would see with overuse of smartphones, which I just thought was really interesting. So replacing one 15-minute session of scrolling with a walk around the block, right? Taking your dog out, or replacing a day of just rotting on the couch, which I know is something that's really popular and that people want to do all the time, right? Can you spend an hour or two outside doing something else, or doing a puzzle, something analog, something that's not just phone or screen related, right?
Yes.
Can make a huge difference. So
for sure. It's good to unplug.
Yeah, for sure. Something else we can talk about too, in terms of takeaways and tools, more conscious consumption. You were just kind of alluding to this as well, but specifically around, like, if we're on social media and we're following accounts where if we're aware that we're comparing ourselves to those people, aware that we're feeling not good enough, or that I wish I was, right? I wish I had, I wish I went, I wish, like you were talking about earlier, that's comparison at its core. So the accounts where we're doing that or feeling that, can we unfollow those? And can we stay connected to the accounts that we feel more inspired by, more motivated by, and maybe more resonant? So that, to me, I like that. And I do that maybe once a year. If I'm kind of looking at like historical social media habits, like I'll just kind of go through and just unfollow a bunch of, I'm like, garbage. I don't see them. Too much, like. And so I do find some use in that one too.
Yeah.
Like we talked about too, smartphones can be useful tools. So they can be really positive. And so we can also use apps that help us feel better. We don't have to just rely on the entertainment or the distraction. So things like meditation apps, journaling apps, fitness trackers. My health app pings me every once in a while and asks me to just do a log entry of how I'm feeling right in that moment, and then asks me to attribute it to whatever the things it might be, right? And is it family and friends, or is it my work, or is it satisfaction, or is it whatever it might be? And so that brings awareness to me, and then I can look at a history or a pattern of, oh yeah, every day at noon I was feeling like this. I wonder what's contributing to that, right? Or here's the things that I contribute to. I think it's useful, right? Do you use? Yeah. What are the ones that you use? What are your top, I guess, useful or positive apps that you use? Habit trackers or journaling?
Yeah. I mean, I love my notes app. I live on my notes app. It really is a catch-all for, I create documents for work on there. I journal on there sometimes. We do a lot of stuff for the podcast through that. Also, reminders are, to me, a game changer. That it shocks me when more people don't utilize reminders, especially, I'm assuming it's very simple on Android as well, but just to be able to go, and my phone will probably hear it now, but hey, fill in the name of who on Apple, because I don't want my phone to
your
record
digital
it,
assistant,
because that's how phones work. Remind me to write up a grocery list at 2 p.m. today. And it's so nice when at 2 p.m. I'm like, oh yeah, thank goodness I reminded myself, or set a thing for when I get home, make sure to do this. And like, that shit is so awesome. I love stuff like that. But yeah, and then anything that does help me sort of keep my life on track. I just, anything like that is great.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Calm app, and we don't have any sort of affiliation with the Calm app, so this is not paid promotion, but I've been a Calm app user for years at this point. It was one of the first apps that I ever bought, and then when I bought it, it was like a quote unquote lifetime subscription. But I was getting so much use out of it that I was like, oh, okay. Now the lifetime subscription is like 5 times what I paid, so I was like, yes, I win.
You got lucky.
I did. I totally did.
Yeah.
But they continued to develop it and add to it and grow it and expand it, and it's everything from like people telling stories, right? And like a sort of a soft, like, I'm an adult and I'm enjoying being read a bedtime story by some golden throated celebrity, right? Who just has this buttery right? And it's just lulling me to sleep. And all I'm doing is imagining all the imagery that they're describing. And then 5 minutes later, I'm out, right? Or sometimes 20 minutes later, I'm out. But there's some really cool stuff on there. But they're even doing like the frequencies. Like that's it. We should probably do a whole other episode on frequencies, but how they actually affect the brain and change change our brain waves. And it can actually have an effect in lulling us to sleep. And so they'll just have like a song, and then the song will have some sort of something embedded in it at a certain frequency, and it will trigger sleep brain waves, and then you'll knock out, right? Within 5 or 10 minutes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So using positive apps, useful apps, ones that are focused around wellness or building good habits or meditation, things like that, like can also be really useful. One last thing I'll say too is, I know we talked about boundaries and maybe no use before bed, but I think you talked about it too. Taking a detox, taking sort of either one day where you don't use tech. This is a really popular notion. Or like you said, like take 2 weeks from the particular apps that you're just chronically checking, chronically on, and aren't really adding much value to your life, and seeing what the difference is. I talk to clients all the time about take that digital detox day. If you have an entire day from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, you are not on any sort of tech, and then you wake up the next morning, you will notice a difference. There is a quiet, there is a peace, there is some kind of tangible feeling that just feels better. And so making space for that, or trying out those things, right? I could probably do that. Maybe I'll consider. That might be a way to challenge. I'll tell you what, maybe we could do, since I'm thinking about it, an afterthoughts where we talk about our experience with like a 14-day or a regular digital detox day, and just talk about like the difference that it made for us. What do you think? You want to?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. I will say most of the time, it's been a newer practice I've implemented in the last few months, but Sunday is my day where I do no social media. I'm not on anything. Nice. And my Sundays are so much more productive. I end up either I'm reading, I'm getting stuff done around the house. If I'm communicating with people, it's in a more mindful way. It's not just sending memes and apps shit back and forth.
Yeah.
And then when I do come back Monday morning after, I'm actually a lot of times like, I don't necessarily know if I want to jump back in yet. Maybe I'll like wait a little bit further into the morning. And so it's also like it feels good to resist temptation. Like as much as I think it does.
You're talking to a confessed hedonist here, so tell me what you mean.
I mean, I'm a huge I love pleasure and seeking things that give me a spark of excitement. But then what it helps me do is it helps me find pleasure in things that are so much more authentic and based in something that doesn't feel yucky. There are so many times when I'm on an app and I'm sitting there and I'm scrolling, and I will literally go, what am I doing? I don't care about any of this. And yet I just keep looking as if like something is all of a sudden like I'm going to miss something. It really does develop like this social media FOMO that I think is part of what absolutely keeps people hooked. But yeah, I recommend if you can maybe set your week off on a start point of I'm not going to have social media on my last day of my weekend, then you might end up seeing just even a slight reminder of, okay, yeah, that was a little tricky maybe at times, but I'm actually proud of myself with resisting that.
Yeah. I like that. That's inspiring.
But yeah, I mean, a 2-week detox challenge. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Nice. I like that we're committing to this right here and right now. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but like, I actually like the idea. So yeah, let's do it. Why not? Great. Okay, great. All right. So I feel like that's a solid group of takeaways and tools, and hopefully some maybe new information for folks who have a smartphone, who are likely listening to this podcast on their smartphone. All the lovely irony that's all built in. So yeah, so let's move into the secret question of the week.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was definitely a few that came to me, and I
Mhm.
actually just at the last minute now changed what I was gonna ask,
Ooh, okay.
and so here we go.
Here we go.
Let's say that in some hypothetical world, we were able, depending on where your time zone is, that at 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., all apps that weren't absolutely necessary just completely went black. Like there was a closing time for apps. Would that be something that you think you would like or that would make our world a better place?
Hmm. I think, oh, this is interesting. I think if I didn't choose it, I would quickly accept it and get used to it and it wouldn't bother me.
Mhm.
But I'm having trouble saying that I would choose that because there are times I'll wake up in the middle of the night or I'll be up late or maybe even up
Mhm.
early, depending on, whatever's going on. And that's sometimes the last thing that I'm doing or the first thing that I do when I
Right.
wake up while I'm drinking coffee is just kind of like look at stories or reels or whatever. So I guess I would have to develop other habits, which would make me uncomfortable at first. But I'm sure that
Mhm.
I would also lean into and enjoy those other habits, those other routines. So yeah, I think I would quickly adapt. Let's say that. I don't know that I would consciously choose it, but I would quickly adapt. And would it make our world a better place? I mean, that's hard. That's hard to answer.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, maybe. I don't
Oh,
know.
I
What do you
think
think?
social
Yeah.
media is absolutely ruining our lives and has made our country, our world, but definitely the United States, a
Mm,
fucking dumpster fire. I mean, so the other question I was considering is if you could
yeah.
eliminate one app forever and ever,
Ooh.
then what would that be?
Ooh.
And in my head, I'm like, well, Facebook would be the one I'd kill off
Right now.
because what it
It's
was versus what it
yeah.
is so fucking toxic. And this question that I did end up asking you was based off of Asher and I were talking
Mm,
about different things, and I was like, God, how nice would it be if we had sort of an enforced shut off that
mm,
made
mhm,
everyone basically be on the same level. We're on the same playing field. No one is getting hyper fixated on it. We all know once 10 p.m. hits, we all have to go and do other things with our lives because the store of social media does not close ever.
ever.
And
You're right.
maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. What if we created healthy limits
Mm,
that are actually protecting us than to just have this thing that's this constant carousel of crap, or maybe make it a premium feature so that people have to pay into it if you want to access it. The internet and I think smartphone searches, we use that stuff to search for things, to find out information. And now we're using it as maybe the sole connection point a lot of
mhm.
times.
Yeah, a lot of people
And
do. Yeah.
yeah. And then also as a place to spew out a lot of shitty things
Mhm.
while hiding or facing your name a lot of times. And I just can't help but see a connection between how social media is rotting a lot of people's ability to have empathy and have calm conversation and to also just disconnect
Yeah.
I mean I tell people all the time, especially my younger clients, once upon a time, you went out to the store and you came home and you may or may not know if someone called, especially before caller ID was a thing.
Mm,
And if maybe a lot of people, we for most of my childhood didn't have an answering machine. It was not uncommon to maybe miss a call. And
yeah.
now we walk around with these things that make you feel like you have to respond to
Yeah.
every single call and text within a certain amount of time or you're an asshole. And what a leash that we have put on ourselves. We need to unleash ourselves.
That was the first thing that I thought of when you said if it was enforced and it was just across the board from 10 to 6 or whatever it might be, was that that they would then try and monetize that there would be a way around it. And what I think it boils down to, yeah, absolutely. What it for me, what it boils down to, and I really don't like when I start to get this pessimistic, but it's the reality of our country. We value money more than people. And we would never make a law that would take a potential business away from business, right? It would just never, it would never.
In a capitalistic society, sure.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. If you look at other countries who have people at the forefront of the laws and rules that they make, something like this could definitely fly. But here in the US, I don't think it would be a thing. But anyway, this is all theoretical anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I like that. It's a good sort of thought experiment. It's pretty good.
For centuries, humans somehow survived without having these small computers in their hands all the time. Yeah. And I hate that. I mean, gosh, 10, 15 years ago, Sean probably would have been like, who the hell is this guy yapping about putting restrictions on smartphone usage? But I just see how much it's hurting our world. And it's just toxic as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, this is just a quick story, but when I was in retail management a million years ago, I had a peer who got promoted. And as part of that promotion, he was supposed to carry a cell phone with him all the time. And this is we're not even talking about smartphones at this point. We're talking about cell phone. Yeah. And it was probably 2007, maybe somewhere in there. But he absolutely refused. And when I pressed him on it, because cell phones were pretty everywhere at that point, right? Pretty ubiquitous there. Like, so I was really enjoying having my cell phone with me and being able to just contact people whenever. But he said, "I'm not a doctor. I don't need to be reachable 24/7."
Amen. Yes.
But like looking back, I mean, there's some wisdom in that, right? Like, I am not that important.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah, that I need to be reachable every minute of every day. So maybe I can just shut it off and put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Self-control, y'all. If you ever heard of it, you should look it up.
Yeah. All right. How about shout outs? Since we're on a roll. You have any this week?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say right now there are probably 2 albums that I am listening to interchangeably over and over again that have just been away.
I know one of them.
You do know one of them, which I will go ahead and say that one is the amazing album from the artist known as Somber called I Barely Know Her. And it is, to me, one of the best rock, pop, alternative debut albums I've heard in a really, really long time. He's just an incredible singer-songwriter, and I'm blown away. This he's only like, I think 20, 21 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, he's a baby and he is creating all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've been hooked on that album, top to bottom. It's so good.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And then the other album that I really love is there's an artist, her name is Audrey Hobart. And her album is also a debut album. It's called Who's the Clown? And it is this mix of definitely like pop and rock. There are moments where her songwriting, to me, the best way to describe it, it's like if Taylor Swift, Gracie Abrams, and Kesha had a baby, this would be her, because there's moments where it's just really amazingly wordy, and then sometimes it's super naughty, but it's also just so fucking catchy, and she's just awesome. So again, that album is Who's the Clown by Audrey Hobart, and then the other one was I Barely Know Her by Somber.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are my shout outs. Love music, loving great artists who are making great music right now.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, Somber, I think part of what I really like about that album is that it has echoes of, or at times like an ethereal vibe that one of my shout outs has. So the artist Jeff Buckley, I mentioned at the top of the episode, they made a documentary that's out on Apple TV right now. And it's called It's Never Over, which is the title of one of his songs. It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley. And it's actually, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous retrospective sort of look at, like, they interview friends and family members. They have footage of him from interviews. Like, it's really, really beautifully done. But if you are a Jeff Buckley fan, you will likely be a Somber fan. There's definitely like a similar kind of vibe there. For those of you who don't know who Jeff Buckley
male.
is, kind of, right? But there's so much. I learned so much more about him and about his artistry and about like his inspirations and all that kind of stuff. So like, if you don't know who Jeff Buckley is, do yourself a favor and just look it up on Spotify or Apple Music, but also like jump in on Somber too, because they're both super, super enjoyable to listen to.
Well, and he really, I mean, I think it's important to say he tragically died super early, and so did not really get to really release a whole bunch of work because he was very dedicated to his practice, and also just, died very young. And it was a huge, and is still a huge loss. So I think that's why it's even more important that there's somebody out there who made sure it was important enough to make a documentary about it, and to make sure people don't forget how he truly has inspired so many other artists.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. I like that. And my other shout out this week is I got a healthy dose of alone time with my husband traveling, which I hadn't had in maybe too long. I could really feel a shift in myself, being able to just exist by myself with myself. It was really nice to just chill out. And then also some really great family time. I'm really grateful for the wonderful, loving people that I have in my life who love me for just who I am, and will spend time with me and just hang out and not be on our phones, and we'll talk to each other's faces. Just love on each other. It's really a wonderful feeling. So I got both of those things this week, and I feel great about it.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. That's it, man. That was solid, I think. Pretty good little investigation. Little good.
Well, it's at least a starting point for sure.
It is. It is for sure. Yeah, it is. It's an important subject because it's not going away, and it's definitely affecting all of us, even if we're not aware of it. It's shifted at least our behaviors, right? If not our brain chemistry, to make us feel a way. For a lot of us, it's affecting our sleep. But then for also a lot of us, it's a great source of tools for building good habits and promoting our own wellness and accessing resources and all the things. So again, just like anything else, it's not all good or all bad. It's about the relationship that you have to it. So just invite everyone listening and watching to take a harder look, be a little bit more conscious, and develop your habits that maybe you need to, even if they're just a little uncomfortable. So until next time, we just want to invite everybody to take a deep breath and
collect your thoughts.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.